All right, good evening, everyone. This is the SHRA meeting of Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Duncan?
Here.
Vice Chair Hunley?
Here.
Commissioner Manford?
Here.
Commissioner Griffin is absent. Commissioner Jefferson?
Here.
Commissioner Ramos?
Here.
Commissioner Ross? Absent. Commissioner Starks?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wu is absent. Thank you.
So we have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are not.
Okay. So we'll move on to the public comment section of the agenda. Would you please read the public comment script?
Persons wishing to address the commission on subjects may do so at this time. The commission cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting. To speak on the agenda item, please fill out a speaker card and give it to the clerk. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item. And I do have a speaker card from Kay Harris. Actually, it looks like it's on number 4, so we can wait till that time.
Okay. Since there's no other speakers, we'll move on to the consent items on the agenda. Would you please read this consent item wording?
All matters listed on consent are to be approved by one motion unless a commissioner or the public requests that separate action is taken on a specific item.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent items?
Motion.
So it's moved by Commissioner Amanfor and seconded by Vice Chair Nunley. If there are no objections, we will pass the motion to approve the consent items. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to the business items. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 3?
Conduct a Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act hearing for the 69th Street Apartments project.
And we have a presentation from staff.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Whitney Hinton, Program Manager in Development Finance and Portfolio Management. Staff is requesting approval to have City Council hold a Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act hearing, or SHRA, for the issuance of tax-exempt bonds by California Municipal Finance Authority, or CMFA, for the 69th Street Apartments. SHRA, acting as the housing authority, is the primary issuer of mortgage revenue bonds for affordable housing developments within the city of Sacramento. In limited situations, SHRA's multifamily lending and mortgage revenue bond policies permit alternate issuers. As a reminder, bonds provide below market rate financing for qualified affordable housing projects. Due to timing, CMFA, not SHRA, will be the bond issuer for this project. SHRA will have no local oversight of the project, nor the ability to conduct compliance visits, investigate resident concerns, or enforce property management replacement if needed. In late March, the developer of this project, CRP Affordable Housing and Community Development, reached out to SHRA regarding issuing mortgage revenue bonds after they received over $26 million from the state's multifamily housing program and infrastructure infill grant programs. Unfortunately, California Debt Limit Allocation Committee, or CDLAC, the entity that oversees the bonds for the state, now only has 2 bond applications per year, one in April and another in August. SHRA staff did not have enough time to write a staff report and receive approval from City Council and the Housing Authority with such short notice. So we agreed to an issuer that does not require similar noticing and hearing. This is the second time this has happened this year. Therefore, staff is currently investigating other options with bond counsel that will allow staff the ability to proceed with bond inducements on short notice while receiving governing body approval. If a solution can be found, we will return with our recommendation in the coming months. 69th Street Apartments is a 130-unit affordable housing development proposed on 1.4-acre lot at the corner of Folsom Boulevard and 69th Street. The project will have 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units for residents earning between 30 and 60% of area median income. Project-based vouchers were awarded for 60 of the units and will be reserved for homeless households. Amenities on site will include school-age play structure, a community room with a full kitchen, a computer room, a lobby, a lounge area, a laundry room, resident service office, and 72 covered parking spaces. A pool was not included due to the lack of space. Currently, there are 2 businesses operating on the property, Taqueria Santos Laguna and Hyper Thrive Athletics. These businesses will receive relocation benefits according to their approved relocation plan. Again, the developer is CRP, Affordable Housing and Community Development. This will be one of their first projects in the Sacramento region. They are also working on a project in Elk Grove. SHRA has approved John Stewart Company as the property management company. Lifesteps will be the resident service provider for all residents, and CRP has committed to providing 10 hours of after-school programming. In addition, Lifesteps will provide 3 full-time case managers to serve the 60 homeless households. In closing, staff is requesting approval to have the City Council hold a TEFRA hearing for this project, and staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Whitney. Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thanks for that overview and for explaining the reason why the CMFA would be the bond issuer. Definitely seems like a not ideal situation, and glad that you guys are looking into how to potentially address that going forward. But yeah, I am concerned about the lack of SHRA oversight. And so is there any assurance that they're going to be doing any of that equivalent work? Do we have confidence that they will have the same sort of standards or quality? And then also from a, I don't know, governance standpoint, I remember we had the one that we talked about however long ago that was, where it was like Kern County or something. Is this another agency that's governed by some other local authority, or is it a true statewide situation where we don't have to worry about competing interests affecting what's best for Sacramento? So just curious about those things.
So CMFA is a statewide issuer. They do conduct compliance reviews every 3 years.
I believe so. They are located as well in Southern California. That's where their offices are. They do issue those statewide. As I recall, they have a larger portfolio of issuance statewide than the previous CalPFA. CMFA is a larger entity. They started out really issuing bonds for smaller rural areas that didn't have, sort of staff capacity to do things, but now have expanded more statewide. Their oversight will not be SHRA's oversight. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, it won't be, but they will check rents, I think, every 3 years. They will have some compliance requirements as the bond issuer. And TCAC will review the project. I think they also review units every 3 years. They do an on-site. TCAC goes on-site every 3 years, but it won't be annually like we do, or we won't have the ability, as Whitney said, to go out and to inspect the units, but not only that, to resolve any resident concerns there might be. I think that's the biggest one. But at the same time, this opportunity, they did receive a huge amount of funding from the state, and we didn't want to let this opportunity go by for the rest of the financing. Michelle, do you have anything else to add to that?
I just wanted to also echo that, this isn't the ideal situation within Sacramento. We obviously want to be the issuer because that is how we have leverage. And we really can get involved if a project is, not meeting our standards. However, the big issue was how much money they had already been awarded by the state. So this is not like our other projects where we're the first step and then they gotta go. They actually were awarded a large amount of money from the state so this project could go. And given the lack of affordable housing, that's why we just erred on the side of saying, this time let's move forward. But it also gave us the idea that we need to figure out a way that we can be a bit more nimble so that they don't have to go to another statewide issue.
Thank you. And if I could just say, I think it looks like a great project, and I think 130 total units and low income, and it's in a great location and near public transit. I'm curious, do you anticipate that there will be any Sac State students who will qualify to be in there, given its proximity to the campus, or is that not sort of the demographic that it would likely apply to? Because just when I saw the location, I was like, oh, I know there's a lot of student housing in that area. I don't know if that would apply here.
Yeah, if the students are income eligible, they will need to meet certain requirements, in order for them to live there. But a large portion of the, project is 30% AMI, and 60% are serving formerly homeless individuals with a project-based voucher. So it really just all depends, but it will not be student housing, if that's what you're asking.
Thank you.
Commissioner Starks?
Yeah, well, this sounds great to me. What role again does CRP play?
They're the developer.
And when you say developer, what does that mean?
So they're the ownership entity that will be developing the site.
Am I thinking about the same CRP as the one that we used to work with at SMUD, or is this a different CRP?
Community resource program.
Okay,
Then we wanna have
The developer
is here.
okay, well, maybe they can say something, that's fine, all right.
Good afternoon, Ryan Andrews with CRP Affordable Housing. I'm not sure the CRP that you are referencing for SMUD, but you're an affordable housing developer based in New York. Several projects throughout the state of California. As the team has mentioned, we have a 2-phase project in the Elk Grove area where we're looking to expand to Sacramento. And this is a culmination of a lot of hard work, a lot of camaraderie, and a lot of moving pieces. And we think we're at the finish line on this project. So we appreciate your consideration for this project.
Well, given the work that SMUD does in terms of sustainable development, it would certainly be a good thing to connect, if you haven't already, with any of our team over there, especially, I don't know where you are in the development of this, if it's started, but the intelligent design team is, especially having proximity to us over there, wouldn't be a bad thing. And we have a relationship with SHRA, so wouldn't be a bad thing.
Be happy to.
Vice Chair Nunley?
Yeah, I thought, and you may need to stay there, or both of you answer, I'm not sure, but I thought I remembered this on that 69th Street apartment, that some of it, not only with the low income, but it potentially could be with disabled groups who would also be taking advantage of the student services that were there and what have you, and that's where the question came up as far as the traffic concern, because that Folsom Boulevard right there is very intense and very busy, and you're talking about trying to cross, which it is very close to the campus, but I think that was part of it as well.
That is a separate project. That's River City Apartments that you're speaking of. That will, it's exactly what you're speaking of. They'll have residents there with mobility issues that will need access to sidewalks and things of that nature for the project.
Whitney, remind me, there's a map in the commissioner package, attachment 3. I believe River City is across the street and to the north, although I too am getting confused where it was. We literally have had like four or five projects within the same block. And the reason for that, you're probably like, why? And the reason for that is to get your bonds and tax credits, especially they really give more points to higher resource areas. So when you look at a map that they put out of the city of Sacramento, this is a high resource area. You get more points, you get your funding. Most of the rest of the city is not in that category. So we have a lot of developers looking in this very small geographic area. River City is one of them, but River City is to the north?
Yes.
So it's right across the street from where
Right across the street.
Yeah.
from that taqueria.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
It's not too close, not too far from the busing light rail too.
Yes.
That makes it part of the high resource area to have
Yeah.
access to transit.
So that's why, again, those are, Amakor doesn't hear me or something now.
In another meeting before this, I didn't have it on. I said, I'm a force. Yes, Sam, turn on your mic. I mean, you know, you think about the synergies between, you know, I'm retired from SMUD and I'm excited about what could possibly be, given low income, you know, the proximity, the multimodal, you know, definitely, if you haven't, I think that would be something that we would be excited about. Yeah.
My question kind of revolves around the timeline. So you mentioned that this was a very short timeline that SHRA was not able to meet. What is the ideal timeline and what was this?
Alright, so for this project, typically we would like to have a project 6 weeks prior to city council, and that's what the staff report being fully written and provided to our clerk to send over to the city. For this project, the bond applications were due April 23rd. Therefore, we would have needed to go to city council by April 9th and to you all by April 3rd. That means our staff report would have needed to be completed by February 26th. We were notified on March 27th. That was 1 week before commission date and 9 business days before city council.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Good job.
Commissioner Ross?
Yeah, I do, thank you. So it's just the unfortunate timing of the funding availability.
Funding that they received from the state and our process in terms of getting before you all and city council with writing a full report and reviewing the project, which we're working on.
So because we had this, I think you were pointing out, we had this same issue, I don't know, 6 months ago, there was something that came and then we, alright, so what is it that we can do so that you all can have the oversight, right? We need that, right? Because, I mean, it's cool that we're getting housing, right? So no one's against that, but it seems like twice, and we expressed last time, we don't want to see this again. And yet we're seeing it again. So how do we change SHRA's structure so that we could be more, what was the term I was gonna say, just more flexible so that we can respond? Maybe we gotta change our policies. Is that something that needs to come before the commission so that we can change our policies, or that we can find a regular bond issuer that doesn't occur only, well, if I heard it correctly, twice was it? Twice a year?
Twice per year, that's
Yeah.
like application, that's statewide.
Is there somebody else we can work with?
Not through the state, so we have to go through SITLAC and TCAC. But to answer your question, I'll let Christine add on, that we are working with bond council to try to help find a resolution for us to be able to have the ability to move forward, and get inducements. So,
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Whitney. I mean, I think the issue is when you apply to SIDLAC or TCAC, which are the state entities, you have to have a resolution from your governing body, and in our case, the resolution is the housing authority actually, in this case, the city housing authority is passing a resolution saying, yes, we're going to issue bonds for this project. And as Whitney told you, our staff report process is a few weeks long. So we're investigating specifically, but we're open to any other ideas our council has, or bond council has. But maybe there's a way we can get the housing authority board to pass more a higher level resolution that says maybe in emergency situations, staff can do that, but then come back to us later. But that's one option. We're seeing if that's, working with all the attorneys to see if that can be an option. We're looking at how can we get sort of a resolution, in some other way at staff level.
Okay, so my question would be, since this is the second time, I'll be an affirmative, I'll approve it, I'm sure everyone else, but I don't think we want to give up our oversight authority anymore. So when's the timeline that we'll have another solution? So when this comes up again, we don't have to do that.
Well, if I
Could, Madam Chair. It seems like, I don't know if this fits the same as the last one, The last one was different in so many ways, it seems. But this one, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, the word that sticks out is nimble. I like the idea that, you know, this notion of blessed are the flexible, for they should not break. That if we get so stuck on doing it one way, you know, I don't know if that's a good thing or if it's a bad thing, but I think having at least where, you know, here this is fully funded, lots of money coming in. I don't hear the angst. You guys shout me down. I don't hear what I heard from staff, you know, as it related to the other one. There I heard almost zipped lips. People are like, and not wanting to say anything negative, they didn't say anything at all. When I hear this group say nothing at all, to me, that is more of a bing. And I think this doesn't kind of seem to fit that. You guys remember the zip lip?
Well, we
Okay.
can't really
I know.
testify to the zip lip.
I understand. I understand.
However, you're both right. And you're right in the sense that the other one was a bit of a different situation, but the end result was the same, where we did not have the authority to oversee the project. This one is just, it's like you can't just walk away from that much money when we're in an affordable housing crisis because of our policies. You know, I'm sure that the developer will be working very closely with us, and I'm sure the developer, if asked, would say that they're more than happy to hear any input if there's some issues and to work very, very closely with SHRA. I see them up there shaking their head, yes. So I think that, you know, developing a really good relationship, that even though we don't have our traditional legal tools, that we have a good cooperative partnership where they understand the benefits, you know, if there's some problems or some issues that are going on. But that being said, we still need to go back to the original issue here of how can we do this quicker? Is there some way that we can have blanket authorization to get this thing moving just so that they can, you know, make the application and receive the funds? And then we can go back and, you know, come before you and clean it up and those types of things. So, you know, that's really where we're at.
Right, so all I'm asking is just for accountability for us all, is to say, well,
Yes.
when's that gonna happen? So do we have to come back next month and you can report on it and say, here's the progress, or does it need to be a standing item each month? So we could take a look at it, because I just, you know, I just feel from us as a commission and you all as the folks that, you do great work, and we just get to look at it and say, you know, not to say that you're not gonna do great work, but our job is to have oversight. And if you all decide that you don't want us to do that, then you don't have to. But that's our job as appointed people and theirs as, you know, hired staff. So,
So we've
I don't
already-
want, I'm just saying, I would like us to have something that says, so when the third, because it's gonna happen again, because there's a housing demand. So I was just wanting us to have something on the record that says, you know, whether we have to keep looking at it. Because last time we said it wasn't gonna happen again, it was unusual, but now here's unusual again. So we're giving up our authority, that should be unusual that we give up our authority.
Yeah, I don't think we quite said that last.
I thought it was, maybe it wasn't, I don't know.
However, we've already reached out to bond counsel, on this issue, so,
Okay.
you know, we're
Okay.
already starting to take those steps. And then, maybe Christine, you can speak to this, you know, what is the likelihood that the state has kind of this other special funding that PRP was able to pull down, available between now and the end of the year? Because this was a different funding situation, correct?
Correct. I mean, I think we all know that the state doesn't have the resources now that it did even, you know, earlier this year. There's, I would say we've just yesterday, the state released their calendar for funding availability for the next, I think 15 months. And we're not gonna see a big release of funds until sometime spring of next year. So, and that will coincide with about the next time that, the two times that SIDLAC and TCAC receive applications. So I think We would like to get this resolved sooner than later, absolutely, that's why we started working on it, but I agree with Lachelle. I don't think we're gonna see a significant amount of money coming out of the state until, next year. I would also like to add, just on behalf of CRP, is there is a difference between the one you're referring to, last year, or earlier this year, where, they didn't want us to be the issuer, that developer, I wanna be, but the CRP was fine and happy with us to be the issuer. They talked to us, they were open to us being the issuer. We just could not meet the timeline that they were under to apply for the next bond round. So there is a big difference between CRP. They were willing to work with us, and they have worked with us. I would say they've made about a half a dozen changes that we've requested during our review. So, which was very different than that last situation where there was a flip.
So what I'm also hearing, my last comment is, given that the, I don't know what you call it, the bond application, so by the time this next time comes, which probably won't because there's no money, then you'll have a response.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I'm fine with that.
No, and I appreciate you, asking for accountability and timelines. That makes perfect sense. So we'll be working on that. We'll establish, a time frame that we will be back, not only in front of you as the commission, but also as the Housing Authority City Board as well, because we need approvals on both levels for flexibility, but I don't see that would be any different than the questions you're asking now.
Thank you, completely understand, and so absolutely, I'm sure all of us, but will speak for myself, so definitely for more housing, we need it, so no opposition here, just we still need to be a SHRA, thank you, all right.
All right. There are other comments from commissioners? Are there any public comments?
Yes, we have one public comment from Kay Harris. Go ahead and step up to the podium. And you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Keisha Harris, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak today. I just had a couple of questions, and I'm looking to learn from you all. Before I do so, I want to say thank you for all the work that you all are doing. Affordable housing, I know, is a challenge in many areas, and the way that you're bringing it to the community at these lightning speed rates is amazing. So many people benefit, our families, our seniors, our disabled, and so I just want to say thank you. With that being said, I wanted to make a comment on this particular item in that SHRA oversight will not be done for this property. I was looking to learn a little bit more and how is the property management selected. I understand that John Stewart will be managing this new property, and I just wanted to know how that comes about.
Question for staff?
Yes, in fact, because public comment is not a question and answer. However, Whitney would be happy to talk to you afterwards and kind of walk you through exactly what that process looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The other part of the comment, in my 1 minute and 40 seconds left, was that John Stewart is, I feel like, the property management for a lot of the properties that are coming on board through SHRA. And I just want to make sure that we're providing some type of oversight for the organization. Sometimes we can stretch ourselves too thin when we gain all these units and all these extra people and families, and then things can fall through the cracks. I would hate to house a family and then they have issues and they're scared to say something. Could we only imagine how someone feels after they've been unhoused? They now have a home, but there's an issue. They're like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Because they're grateful for the opportunity. However, they should never fear providing any type of feedback or concern as it pertains to their home. So I just wanted to make that comment today and making sure that with anything that we bring to the table, there will always be issues and concerns. So it's not to complain, but it's to make sure that we're able to bring those issues and concerns to the table, get a response, and that there's no retaliation. I also want to add in closing that I am now a resident of a John Stewart property. So I'm not here to talk bad about them. I just want to make sure, again, that there's oversight as we put these new properties online at these families, and we're making sure that there's accountability there. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you for your comments. So can I get a motion from the commission to approve the report? So moved by Commissioner Wu, second by Vice Chair Nunley. If there are no objections, we're going to pass the motion.
Abstain.
Abstain from Commissioner Manfor. Hearing no objections, the motion passes unanimously, or -1. Can we move on to item number 4?
Authorization to dispose of miscellaneous parcels in the Del Paso Nuevo development.
Presentation from staff.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the Commission. I'm Vicki Smith, a Management Analyst here at SHRA. And this report before you requests authority to sell some small parcels in the Del Paso Nuevo project area. And these were remainder parcels after the final phase of street improvements for the project were completed. Given that we have quite a few new people, we wanted to show a brief presentation. It's very brief, and then I have also a brief PowerPoint. This is also on the website, so if anyone wants to look at more detail, I'll show you this section that you can look at some more details. So this is a picture of Del Paso Nuevo, some of the model homes from one of the earlier phases. And this was a kind of a big deal project back in the day. Was 154 acres and really was a significant infill project in the Del Paso Heights community. And that is a gateway monument sign that they had for the project. So that kind of shows you in the city where it's located. Like I said, it's in the Del Paso Heights neighborhood. Received a homeownership zone designation from HUD, competitive, and about $10.5 million in seed money. For those of you that are lived in Sacramento for a while, this is in the Rancho Del Paso area of Del Paso Heights. A big horse ranch that was converted to farms, and unfortunately the Del Paso Nuevo part of the area did not kind of come along as much as some of the other parts. So here are some photos of some of the older homes, a couple of examples of older homes in the area that were really deteriorating and converting to rental and just kind of contributing to the blight in the area. And another major issue in the area was road improvements. That there was many streets that did not have curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lighting, and a lot of vacant lots that encouraged dumping and illegal activity. And finally, again, for those that have been around the city for a while, a lot of flooding. So there was a lack of sewer capacity, a lack of water capacity. And essentially, at some point, the city stopped issuing building permits until that was remedied. So one of the first stages, and essentially phase 1 of the project, was the addition of water lines, sewer lines, streets, lighting, neighborhood signage, separated sidewalks, and landscaping. And I will have to say this was part of the Del Paso Heights redevelopment area, and it's a funding source we no longer have, so we aren't able to do these. Well, sort of, but we can't do these as much as we used to, these big projects. So, and again, the 2 parks with detention basins were installed to address some of the flooding issues. And this is just a construction photo. The project was separated into 6 phases. Through RFP processes, we hired different contractors, and the project continued to move forward. It was a multi-year, almost 20-year effort overall. Very large community effort for this project. Over 40 community meetings were held with the development of the master plan. And one of the big focal points was to involve the students and to involve the community, and Graham High was involved with helping to design and program the parks. They did these art pieces for the monument signage and helped with some backyard landscaping designs. And it was sort of a mentorship with the developer and with one of the architects. So we're getting into some of the after pictures. So this is a little map of where the two parks are. The top park was originally known as Nuevo Park, and now I believe it's called Robert Brookings Park. And then the park below to the south is Gateway Park. And again, both of those are detention basins and help with the flooding issue. And this picture at the very bottom is a current picture of Nuevo / Robert Brookings Park. So really the core of what we, the agency's goal and HUD's goal for this project was the homes. And a total of 325 homes were built. And again, like I said, it was phased over a period of time. The homeownership designation required at least 51% of the homes be sold at affordable prices to folks earning 80% of area median income or below. And there was no, the affordable homes were dispersed throughout the community, and there was no separation. So finally, this is, again, if you know, Amber said she would put a link to this in your minutes, but there's some satellite imagery and you can kind of see the before and after. I don't know if you can really see that, but the right side is what it looked like after, and then the left side is what it looked like before. So yeah, it was a big success. And now I just have a short. So again, starting in 1997, I ran over a lot of this already, the $10.5 million seed money. Project took place between 1998 and 2023, produced 325 homes, and it says 50% should be 51%, were sold to low-income families, 2 parks, detention basins, and related infrastructure. So this is an overall map of the phasing, and the project, or the section that we're talking about today, were streets that were located in phase 6, which was the final phase. So when the streets were completed and the homes were sold, there were 8 small properties that remained in ownership by the housing authority. I think the initial thought was that those would go to the city and be part of a landscape district. And that did not happen, and so they still remain in the ownership of the housing authority. And those properties are highlighted in red here on this map. They're on Fred Barker Avenue, Louise Williams, Alberghini, and 3 on Johnny Morris Avenue. And these names were all people that were on the Del Paso Heights Community Advisory Committee, so to honor them. So none of these properties are very big. They're all oddly shaped and just really not considered to be developable for affordable housing. So once it was determined that the city wasn't really interested in these parcels, we reached out to the adjacent property owners, and through letters and phone calls and such, there's also actually a church that owns 3 of them. But we've confirmed about 10, so far 10 of the 15 property owners are interested, and we're still working on the remaining. So at this point, we're seeking authorization to sell these properties to the adjacent owners at fair market value. And then to take all the required steps to make that happen. In some cases, we do need to subdivide. I don't know if you can see on that one on the bottom right, Johnny Morris has 5 different adjacent owners, so that'll have to be divided up before that's sold to them. So once this is approved, this will go on to the City Housing Authority Board, and once this is approved, we'll continue with the process with the goal of having all the properties sold and subdivided by early next year. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Vice Chair Nunley.
I did just have one question is, the report inside the packet was very, very good, and I could understand everything that was going on, which was great. And I see from that map, that last map where it was saying on the sheet, like Johnny Morris Avenue, and it had, okay, we're gonna give this a number of adjacent privately owned. We have to give it to the 5 reference, so I understood that one. The one that stuck out to me was that one on Alberghini, and I know this is getting maybe a little detailed, but when I saw it was 6,358 square feet, I thought, that's a pretty good size. My house isn't on that big of a lot. So it seemed kind of unusual.
Yeah.
That was the one that stuck out.
Yeah.
All the others made perfect sense, but that one was a little, it's like, that's kind of big.
Yeah.
So,
And I agreed. And I think one of the interesting things about that parcel is there's a big smud. I don't even know what they're called, but one of those big box things in the middle of it. So that sort of limits it. There's a PUE, I assume, and so that sort of limits some of the development potential of that particular parcel. But that one's on the bubble of being, I mean, I don't know if they could squeeze an ADU on there.
Yeah.
That one's on the bubble though of being developable, but it's mostly that spot in the PUE that limits its development.
all right, that was my only question. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos.
Yes, thank you. And I actually had a similar question along that, because I think it's bigger than even some of these small little square ones. But now I see the image of
Yeah.
the box. But it'll make a very nice side yard addition.
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
the-
they're excited. They're very excited.
And I certainly appreciate the background because that hopefully was very helpful to get the larger context. Yeah, I mean, so I have a few questions, just curiosity. So I'm curious, is this subject to the Surplus Land Act and are we following that process? Because I know they're all small, like, they're all too small to like build something it appears, but even then I think there's typically a determination that the agency has to make formally that they're too small, we can't build on it. So are we following that process?
Right, so I'll let Brad add to it if he wants to, but yeah, the housing authorities make the same finding. They're not exactly required to follow the city's, or a city or a public agency's process, but it's a housing authority surplus land act, for lack of a better word, and so I did do a public notice, and there's a finding in the resolution about that these are no longer required for the foreseeable needs of the housing authority, so.
And is there a certain size or lot size that's kind of the threshold of, well, if it's a 1/5 or 1/4 acre and
Yeah.
above, we can build on it, but if it's below that, then by default, it's too small, and so we consider them small enough to go through that exemption process.
I don't believe there's an actual square footage, to the best of my knowledge. I could be wrong. And Brad, please feel free to chime in if you know differently. But I do know you have to seal, they're not, it's not, none of these are, you cannot use them for an affordable housing purpose. If they were, we wouldn't be doing this. I mean, obviously, we would want to put housing on it, but they were all so small that they were not, there's not an ability to do anything else with them. Brad, do you have anything else to add?
No, just that there is no, under the California Housing Authority Law Act, there's no size threshold. Again, the determination has to be made that can be used for affordable housing. And once that determination is made, then the public hearing gets held, as Vicky said. So generally speaking, there's no minimum threshold.
Okay, so it's a little bit in the judgment of the agency, but it is following the surplus land.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then I saw in the staff report that the current cost to the agency is about $13,000 a year. So I was just curious, how are we spending 13,000 a year on these like slivers of lots? Is there anything that we're having to maintain, or like is it cutting the grass,
Yeah.
or?
Essentially landscaping and fencing and, yeah.
Okay. And it sounded like there was a majority of the owners who were interested, so, but maybe not all of them, so we might still have some cost associated with those who might not.
We might. It's interesting because the more I'm able to talk to people, the more, oh, I was referred to one person by their neighbor, and so I'm hoping that we can continue to reach out to those last 5 that I haven't been hold of yet.
Okay, all right, I think those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Google Street View is fantastic for this.
You saw that big thing I was talking about, right?
Yeah. Showed them. I'm not able to get out there. Love it. Yeah, any other questions or comments? Okay. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have Keisha Harris again.
Hello there. Keisha Harris. I'm standing here now as the director of July Forward, excuse me, their prescription glasses. Of July Forward, a community-based organization that's focused on environmental health. And I absolutely have a use for slivers of land, community gardens. Community gardens. I wanted to present that today, and I wanted to ask if you're able to hold on to that land and provide it to the community for community gardens. It's $13,000 a year. It's not a small amount, but it's not large either. The same government entities that provide loans and grants for public and affordable housing, they also provide the same grants for community gardens. And community gardens consist of more than just growing food. You have your natural habitats, you have your tree gardens, you have your flower gardens. There's so many different uses. But if that land is given away to the city, no telling what's gonna happen. But if SHRA can hold on to that land and then provide it to a community-based organization for a use such as that, that would be great, as opposed to going through all those other avenues to now do something that could be done right here. So I wanted to make that request today. I'm not sure of the process. Like I said, I'm here to learn, but I absolutely wanted to put that request out there because I think it's an amazing use. And that's just one of many. That's just the one that I thought of that I wanted to present to you all today. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Ramos.
Yeah, and I know we can go back and forth, but although it is an agendized item, I am curious, and thank you for bringing that up. That's a very interesting idea. And so I'm curious, is that an option? I don't know if there's a community group in there, like a neighbor association, that might be the steward of that. If maybe the adjacent property owner isn't interested, who we might then offer to subsequently to that. So yeah, just curious if there any response in terms of possibilities for that, or within the framework of what we're already doing.
Well, I can speak first and then I can let Vicky chime in. So from a legal perspective, because the Housing Authority owns it, the purpose, if it's sold, it can only be sold, if you're gonna sell it to like a nonprofit or something, one, it has to be done at fair market value still, and then that, I believe that nonprofit would also have to fall in line more with affordable housing development as opposed to a community type organization that might do something like a garden. But I think the biggest setback would probably be the fair market value piece. I think that, and I'm not speaking from the business aspect, but I think if we were able to sell it to the nonprofit, then again, it would have to meet the fair market value price. And so that might be that sometimes is a hurdle for nonprofits.
And to clarify, the amount that we would be offering the slivers to the owners, would that not be at the fair market, or is that more discounted?
It is, yes.
Yeah, it's at the fair market value.
It is at the fair market?
Yes.
Okay. And I think in the report it was like 500 to 1,500.
Yeah, they're not very expensive.
So probably wouldn't be.
But I was gonna answer the same way, I don't know if you hadn't, yeah, they have to either be used for an affordable housing purpose or, and in this case, we're declaring them a surplus that we can't use them for affordable housing, which is why we can, and then, like I said, the initial idea was that these would all be deeded to the city, because they're really just kind of leftovers from when they did the streets that they couldn't go deed them.
So if the owners don't take them, then the next resort would be to give them to the city or sell them to the city. So then, could there be a possibility of a nonprofit?
If we could look into it, but I don't believe so.
I guess I would just add, and maybe we could look it up on Google Streets, but you have to realize this is little tiny little pieces of land for the most part, except for the one we pointed out, between the sidewalk and like maybe someone's back fence or their side yard. These are not large parcels at all. They're supposed to be landscape strips. I mean, they're, where you all see like between the street and the sidewalk where there's, grass, they're not very large. And I think if you were gonna do something like that, we of course ran this by the council member for the district and others, and that there's no concern with this. I think there would be, in the sort of what we consider usual public right of way, a garden. I think that would require a lot of community outreach if that would be the case. And I go back to it's supposed to go to a housing purpose. Is this a housing purpose? Well, it's going to go back to the homeowner who owns the land. So that's how we can make that nexus. But
Right, I guess, and again, I don't know how the law works specifically, but it sounds like we're saying it's exempt from the Surplus Land Act, and therefore it's not going for a housing purpose, then why would it matter if it's going to the owner or going to community group? And I mean, from looking at the picture, it is, that they are slivers that are pretty small, but I can even imagine, like in my neighborhood, like we might want to do beautification and put roses in there or something. Maybe it's not going to be a full garden so anyways, it's just creative ideas, and I appreciate that she brought it up, but I would just be curious to see what options may exist if the owners don't want it, but it does make sense to give preference to the owners nearby, but interesting idea to consider. Thank you.
No other comments? Do you have one, Commissioner Ross?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I had my light on. I do. What's your name again, ma'am, please?
Keisha Harris.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you, because we don't get very many citizens to come and comment on anything, so that's just exciting in general. So I want to say thank you for coming. My question is not towards yours, but similar to Commissioner Ramos. What is the process, that notification? I mean, I know you went and talked to the residents, but what's the process for other community organizations or others to be aware that, hey, maybe we can apply, maybe we can do a project, maybe we can offer a proposal to SHRA to say we would like to do something different than what you pursued? How did citizens get to know that information?
The basic way that we did it for this particular project was it was a noticed public hearing. So it was published in the paper that this was our intent. And I'm not sure if that's how she found out about it or not, but that's what that
I mean,
was.
those tiny publications that go in the newspaper, that small usually, or was it like a full page ad?
It was not a full page.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. So these are concerns of everyday citizens, and I know that is the process, but our job is different, I believe, different than, other not necessarily public entities or private entities when they put those notifications in the newspaper that are required, but you have to be looking for that. I'm curious to say that as an agency, a joint agency between the city and the county to serve the citizens, are there other routes that we could go about to communicate, soliciting proposals and so forth for uses of property that SHRA desires to sell?
Well, we certainly do full request for proposal processes on properties that are larger and a lot more community outreach, a lot of neighborhood outreach. So that would be our normal process for larger properties.
How's that neighborhood outreach done? Do you walk around and give out flyers to the community? How's that done?
Again, we would do neighborhood meetings periodically if we, I feel like that's probably been done in the past. I haven't done one myself in a while.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this commission has seen projects come before you in the last few years. I'm thinking of the Donner Field site. I can't tell you how many community meetings have been held in that neighborhood about that site and about that proposed development. And some of those are in coordination with the council member's office, sometimes they're the neighborhood association, the PBID. So that's just one example. I could go through lots of examples, but this is a little, if this were buildable, I can't emphasize that enough. If we were build affordable housing on these lots, this would not be the proposal we bring forward to you. If there is buildable land, we absolutely put those out for request for proposals, advertise them extensively, and make sure that we get the best proposal and then work with the neighborhood and bring it back to you for approval.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Manfor?
This is a segue from this discussion. I think my request is if I can get from SHRA a percentage of housing under SHRA where Johnson is a property manager for a lot of the housing developments. I just want to ensure that, since it was brought up by residents, that we want to ensure that, that there's an equity lens whenever we do award some of the property managements, some property managements for some new housing developments. Is there a way that we can receive something like that?
I believe, I'm not sure I'm allowed to answer this. I'm trying to see Brad, since it was the last item, but.
So, is this Dewey or Johnson?
John Stewart.
John Stewart,
John Stewart
apologies.
Company. We can do that. I just want to make it clear, again, it's the last item, so I'm not sure, Brad, should I be talking about this, but SHRA does not require a developer to use a property management company. They come to us and we review that property management and company and approve them. We don't require or recommend. So the fact that this developer is.
So for clarity, they come with the property manager.
From time to time, we'll say that property manager doesn't have the experience or meet our requirements, but if they do meet our experience requirements, then they're approved.
Okay, thank you. That clears it up a little bit more. Thank you.
No other comments? So can I get a motion to approve the report? Moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Commissioner Wu. There are no objections. We'll move to pass the motion. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to the Executive Director's report.
So our next meeting is scheduled for September 18th. So make sure that you have that on your calendars. We have quite a few items, so that's going to be a busy night. Just letting you know. Because you're scheduling something immediately afterward, you want to push that out a little bit. And then I also would like to say thank you to Chair Duncan. And was there anything else from the commission? Oh, great. At our grand opening today for Capitol Park. Yeah, Commissioner Jefferson. Okay, great. Yes, so it was just a delight to see we finally reached the finish line with Capitol Park because we have been involved with that for many, many years. And it started out as, it's an SRO that has been under the SRO ordinance for many years. So it was a part of our oversight. And then from there, Mercy Housing purchased it, but while they were going through their financing, we used it as a shelter. I don't know if you recall or remember that for those of you on the commission. And then from there, we were able to finally assemble all of the financing and then convert it to affordable housing. But there were many, many hiccups along the way. But we're just so glad that we were able to persevere and get that done and have a great grand opening today. So that was great news. Then we're on a roll here with our ribbon cuttings. we have this one is more of a groundbreaking. Friday, San Juan Apartments, we have a groundbreaking celebration at 10 a.m., 5700 Stockton Boulevard. So I invite people to come out. This is phase one, 113 units of low-income housing will be at that particular site, which has taken us a while to get there too. The complexity of it being, half of it being in, well, more than half, a greater portion of it being in the county and then another portion in the city, and had to have special legislation to merge those parcels, but we were able to do it in mutual housing is the developer, and they'll be having a great groundbreaking celebration. So if you have an opportunity, we'd love for you to come out and help celebrate with us on Friday at 10 a.m. If you drive down Stockton Boulevard, it's just amazing at all of the affordable housing that SHRA has been involved in all along that stretch. So this is another one of those building blocks. And also wanted to just say thank you to the FARS team members who were able to meet with our HUD team that was out with us all last week. They had an opportunity to go through quite a lot of information, had a lot of great questions, and I know that they were able to meet with you. So really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to meet with them. And I know that the task force had a chance to meet today, and we'll be reporting out at our next meeting on the 18th. But again, a big thank you for your additional work in helping us continue to kind of wade through all of those issues. And with that, that's all that I have.
Thank you. It was a great opportunity to be able to come to today's ribbon cutting and seeing the transformation of the Capitol Park Hotel. It's beautiful inside. I mean, they still have the original 100-year-old tile in there. So, this is a kind of a momentous day because I think we're all here, right? What? Or is anybody? No. And we had public comment, so thank you for coming as well. I have nothing else to report. Do any other commissioners have anything to report? Commissioner Ross?
Yes, I do. Just as an announcement, and on September 13th, coming up on Friday, there's going to be a workforce development symposium. You're going to get the email in just a minute. I was out of town for 6 days, so I'll hold off on that for a minute, from my last announcement. However, on September 13th, on Friday at Midtown Church, it's not going to be a church faith event, but we're bringing coalescing government, business, nonprofit, faith communities for a workforce development symposium and job fair. The job fair, and I'm going to put that in the attachment in the email. I had no Wi-Fi or phone connections for 6 weeks, so I was behind and just got back not too long ago, so my apology for that. But anyway, the job fair, we're going to have 15 state employers there. 37 employers in general, 15 from the state, no college degree required. SHRA, I may be able to squeeze you in if you want to try to get into that, but the conference is free. For tabling at the event, if you want to table, it looks like we're close to being full, but there's going to be a huge contingency there. On the workforce development, we're looking at conference theme is finding employment solutions to barriers for disconnected adults and opportunity youth. There's national speakers that will be there. Higher Youth Houston, City Health Dashboard from New York University, Trolls Adrian from GSEC will be there. We'll have a panel that will be discussing second chance hiring. So all these will be working with formerly incarcerated for individuals. Yes, and many others will be there. So if you folks want to go take a look at it for registration, we're at about 100 right now. Food is free, breakfast is free, lunch is free, with no cost, and neither is the job fair. You can go to www.healtheducationcouncil.org, healthedcouncil.org, healthedcouncil.org, and go ahead and register. You have to register individually, unfortunately, but I think for SHRA staff and the constituents that we serve, this is going to be a bonanza of information and opportunity. So please come, and it won't cost you anything. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, if there's nothing else to report?
Sorry, I have one other
Yes.
thing. It's okay. Also wanted to make you aware that on September the 10th, we will be holding a workshop at the county on affordable housing. And we'll also go over the governance structure of SHRA in terms of, the role of the commission, the role that the county board plays, and then talking about affordable housing, the basic building blocks. So a lot of the types of projects that you guys see, as well as our rental assistance demonstration program. And then the second workshop immediately following will be on the housing choice voucher program. So just wanted to make you aware of that if you have nothing else to do. No. If you're interested in attending, that will be on next Tuesday afternoon at 2:00.
Thank you. Since there's no other business, I will adjourn this meeting.